get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Yes, I can. Doubt, better leave. I'm running with this plan. Pull me, grab me. Rappers in the bucket can't have me. I'll be the president one day. January 1st. Oh, you like that gossip? Like you the one drinking what gossip.com. Now I got a word for your tongue. How many Rolling Stones you want? Yeah, I got a brand new spirit. Speaking of this done. Woke up on the side of the bed like I won. Talk like the wind in my chest to that sun. G5 in the US to Taiwan. Now who can say that? I wanna play back. Mama knew I was a needle in a haystack. Oh, Body Boy, plus way back. I got a feeling it's a rap. ASAP.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Brinker. Say that again.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
I had to turn you up. And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Just bear with me. I'm still getting used to this new board and this new setup, which was, I think we finally settled on the final configuration, and I'm sure enjoying this new studio here on at KCAA. So, Tobin, you stayed up late watching the first service for John McCain.
I could not sleep. I don't know about other people. You know, I've been talking all week about John McCain and how affected I've been by this whole ordeal with his passing away. And even though we knew it was coming, it's just been a gut punch. And so yesterday they showed his body sort of being delivered to the Capitol Rotunda in Phoenix, and they had a small ceremony there. The governor of Arizona, former Senator Kyle and current Senator Flake both spoke, as well as some other folks. And it was the first time to see actually some of the McCain family members since John McCain has passed. And there's an iconic picture now of Cindy McCain with her head resting on the coffin. And it's hard. I mean, you know, you see so many people that have been so deeply affected by this man's passing. And there's an article, an op-ed that I read this morning, written by Matt Bai. He's a political reporter, and I think he captured it. You know, he says there's been a death of perspective, and that he equated this to when Princess Diana passed away in England, and the Queen was sort of grieving privately at the castle and didn't understand why all these people were so upset, you know, and about Diana, but she captured the moment of their time for them so much. And I think McCain has done something for us too here, that, you know, people see his death as sort of the loss of a political culture that used to exist, you know. And Matt Bai does a great job of explaining it, and he calls it a death of perspective. And he says, you know, John McCain faced real death in war, you know, and so the idea of losing a vote or it didn't affect him the same way, and he was willing to take risks because he knew it wasn't the same as taking a risk on a battlefield where someone's life was going to get, you know,
yes,
would lose their life, and that it gave him a kind of a context for how he behaved, and you just don't see that kind of behavior in a lot of politicians, and it's just a beautiful statement about why people are so upset about McCain's passing. And it really is. It's been fascinating talking to my coworkers, and even some of the students at my school seem to be affected, right? That they know who this man is, and they've seen the clips on YouTube, and they admire him for standing up for Obama and for some of the things that they know about him, being a war hero. You know, the kids get it. It's all just very overwhelming. And of course, this morning, is going to be the first church service for him in Phoenix. And then after that, his body will be transported and he'll be taken to Washington, D.C., where he'll lie in state there on Friday. And then on Saturday morning, they'll have the big service. And of course, I plan to watch that as well.
You know, I think the picture, in addition, so second to Cindy McCain with her head on the flag, head on the coffin, is the picture of her standing next to their sons, Jack and Jimmy, both wearing naval uniforms.
Yeah.
And, you know, which speaks to the commitment to service that exists in the McCain family.
Yeah.
And, of course, it predates John McCain by 2 generations.
Yeah.
And it speaks to a level of sacrifice and service that is in military families, because often it's the people who are in the military are in the military because their family has a tradition, and that's something that they wanted to do as well.
Watching Cindy McCain walk in with her two sons in uniform yesterday was a very emotional moment. When they pulled up behind the hearse and they were unloading it, and of course it was done. They had the full military honor guard. It was just so beautifully done. This is. If you've never been to a military funeral, they know how to do it. They understand the symbolism and the moment. And it was just so beautifully done. And Cindy McCain is such a composed person. And I've been thinking about the governor of Arizona, and he's going to have to pick the successor for McCain. And I know a lot of folks are looking for him to pick somebody that's young and very conservative and can run for the full office in 2020 when the full term is up. But I'm kind of hoping that he picks Cindy McCain, let her finish out the term, and then let them get back to politics. We don't need politics right now. We just need healing.
We do. There's a picture here of Meghan McCain sobbing over her father's grave. And I know she was very close to him. And I'm sure all the children were, but I know that she was very close to him. And she lives in the public eye, and so we know more about her.
Yeah.
And, if how so many of us feel about him, about him being a giant, and whoever comes next has huge shoes to fill. Having lost my mom in 2016, I know what it feels like to lose a parent.
Yeah.
I imagine that for them it's 10 times worse, because he's such a public person. That they're mourning in public, that they're grieving in public, that they're being judged, and added on top of that, they're listening to really just obnoxious people tear their father down right now.
And that's the weird thing, because as I was watching the services yesterday, because I'm watching it later in the day, it's from a streaming service, and you can see people's comments as they're streaming this. And the vast majority are people who love John McCain and are truly mourning him. But probably every seventh or eighth one, you're going to see one pop in, some nasty troll saying some horrible thing about John McCain. And I'm thinking to myself, who does that? Who says nasty things about somebody at their funeral?
The Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
So these people are like that.
Exactly. And I just, I'm just trying to tune it out. And then, of course, the people that love John McCain, when they see these troll comments pop up, you'll then get 2 or 3 people who want to respond to it to try to shut him down. And it just feeds it. It's like, oh, my God. I had to kind of tune out the scrolling comments to just focus on the moment of the hearse pulling up and all of the ceremony that was going on and watching the speeches, because it was just, you can't let that negativity drag you down and draw you in. It's just sad.
It's just sad.
Now, there was one other thing about McCain's services that popped in the news yesterday, and it's fascinating, and I don't know all the backstory here, but, John McCain had picked Sarah Palin as his vice presidential running mate back in 2008, and apparently their family is not going to be at the services either in Phoenix or in Washington, D.C., and they're keeping fairly mum about it, but the reports are that they weren't extended an invitation, and their comments have been, basically that Palin's response was something along the lines of, I'm just going to remember the good times we had with each other, and that he, something, just a positive quote about him without really going into the whys. But I thought that was interesting that that she's not going to be there.
Yeah, I don't. She's more conservative than he is.
Yeah,
and I'm not a fan of Sarah Palin. I think that I remember. I've said this before. I remember watching the convention where you were a delegate, watching the convention in 2008 and listening to her thinking, oh my goodness, I so wanted to like her.
Yeah.
And when she was then interviewed by the press, and I understand that the press was not, they obviously weren't going to be supportive of her. They're going to try to do the gotchas, but she didn't know even surface level
Yeah.
information that she should have known, or she shouldn't have allowed herself to be booked on those shows.
Yeah.
And she didn't have the mental capacity, not that she was mentally ill, but that she didn't have the brain power to be able to hold her own.
Yeah.
And it so made me angry.
And, she came on the stage with such a fear. She knocked it out of the park when she was introduced as the VP candidate with her opening speech at the convention. And people were just so like, wow, this is exciting. She lit that place on fire. And then over the next few days, as she was doing interviews and as people were learning about her backstory and her history, she just made goof after goof, gaffe after gaffe, and exposed herself as being not ready for prime time.
Yep.
And it was so sad. It was so sad.
So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Breaker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. And we will be right back.
KCAA has been marketing the Youngevity brand of nutritional and personal care products. Our experience with Youngevity has been 100% positive, so we are pleased to recommend them to you. Regarding nutritional supplements, we recommend Pollen Burst in the berry flavor and Tangy Tangerine 2.0 in the tablet form. For regularity issues, we recommend 3-Day Cleanse, and for personal care, we recommend Morning Hydration Cream. You can shop online for Youngevity at www.kcaateam.com, or you can order by phone by calling 800-982-3197 and tell customer support that you are part of the KCAA team. Youngevity is an American company based in San Diego. Call Youngevity at 800-982-3197 and ask about monthly auto ship that allows you to buy Youngevity products at wholesale prices. That number again, 800-982-3197.
Turner's Fine Carpets is a family-owned business providing generations of great service. They specialize in carpeting, laminate flooring, installation, and satisfied customers. Turner's Fine Carpets is locally owned and operated by Dad, Larry Turner, along with his son, Dan, who works side by side in the office with the help from their loyal employee, Frankie. Before Larry, it was Dennis Turner, Larry's dad, who started this family-owned business. With 3 generations and nearly 60 years of experience serving the same community we all grew up in, Turner's Fine Carpets must be doing something right. They serve Yucaipa and all the surrounding areas of the Inland Empire. You can find Turner's Fine Carpets of Yucaipa on Yelp. For a direct quote, Turner's is located at 35168 Yucaipa Boulevard in Yucaipa, just above California Street, or at 909-797-6100. That's 909-797-6100. Or Google Turner's Fine Carpets of Yucaipa.
If you or a loved one was seriously injured in an accident with a semi-truck or an 18-wheeler truck, you need to act fast. I'm attorney Daniel Rudbari. I know how to fight truck companies. Call me 800-325-1454 for your free consultation. 800-325-1454. Truck accident cases are different than an auto versus auto accident. There are so many more issues involved when dealing with a truck accident case. There are federal regulations and state regulations, several different companies that may be involved. I can immediately gather the evidence, get you the medical care you need with no deductible and no copay to you, and get you the compensation and the money you deserve for your injuries. And if there's no recovery, there's no fees charged to you. I'm attorney Daniel Rudbari. I know how to fight truck companies. Call me 800-325-1454 for your free consultation. 800-325-1454.
Hi, this is Todd from the Flip Flop Investor Show. Join us every Thursday at 4 p.m. where we talk about real estate investments here in the Inland Empire. Before you go to a real estate seminar, come check out our Real Estate Investment Club that meets at the Mission Inn in Riverside every 4th Wednesday. Find out more on our weekly show at 4 p.m. Thursdays right here on KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
KCAA.
I got a condo in Manhattan. Baby girl, what's happening? You and your ass invited, so gonna get to clapping. Go pop it for a plan, pop it for me. Turn around and drop it for a plan, drop it for me. I'll rent a beach house in Miami. Wake up with no jammies. Lobster tail for dinner. Julio served that scampi. You got it if you want it. Got it if you want it, said you got it if you want it. Take my wallet.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
We are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3, playing little Bruno Mars to get you bumping this morning.
I love Bruno Mars.
Do you know any other Bruno?
No.
No.
It's an unusual name, Bruno.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You wonder if that's the name his mama gave him, or did he just pick it because it's unusual?
Right. You know, it's the music industry. It's like Hollywood. They have to create the persona, so they end up with fake names and whatnot.
So it seems that sexual abuse is everywhere, sexual abuse of children.
Yeah.
And a second educator has been snared in a San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department sting.
Really?
Yeah. That has now resulted in the arrest of 9 men who are suspected of attempting to lure a minor for sexual acts. And this is one that's including that banning school administrator, Charles Mayer.
Yeah.
The Sheriff's Department conducted Operation Child Safe, in which detectives created an account on a social media app, and the suspects all initiated conversations on the app, and it was then that a detective would claim that he was a 14-year-old boy. Detectives and the suspects sent messages back and forth, and all but one, Anthony Pedregon, sent nude photos of themselves to the account they thought belonged to the boy. The sheriff's departments also said each suspect agreed to meet in a public place, such as parks and parking lots in Rancho Cucamonga, where they believed they would engage in a sexual act with a minor. Ugh. A lot of them were ashamed and in disbelief that they were not meeting with a 14-year-old boy. I am so just disgusted. The Sheriff's Department said Tuesday that 8 additional men were arrested on suspicion of attempting to lure a minor for sexual acts. Okay, listen to these names. See if you know anybody. Javier Armijo, who's 44, lives in Wildemar. Dan Kubaisi, who's 29, Rancho Cucamonga. Jamie Bosworth, 36, Yucca Valley. Anthony Pedregon, 25, Rancho Cucamonga. David Quinn, or Dave Quinn, 47, of Stanton. Christopher Ramirez, 37, of Upland. Shadi Abdul Razak, 33, of Rancho Cucamonga. And Roberto Silva, 52, of Rancho Cucamonga. Armijo had been a teacher at Canyon Crest Academy in San Dieguito Union High School District, and I'm guessing that's in San Diego.
Yeah.
Armijo left the school in June, said Joe Schultz, the executive assistant to the superintendent. Schultz says she didn't know why Armijo left. Armijo's single subject credential to teach in California was suspended for misconduct. Armijo, on his website photopolari.com, said he was on staff at Canyon Crest, where he taught digital film production. His LinkedIn profile said he taught digital film production for 5 years at Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, and that he received a bachelor's degree from UCLA's School of Theater, Film, and Television, and earned a master's degree in 2005 from Chapman University's College of Educational Studies.
They're going to dig, Aaron. They're going to dig on all these guys to see if they've got other places where they were with young boys.
Well, and now that their pictures and their names are out there, because
people
the
will come
mugshots,
forward.
the mugshots have been printed in the paper. So people will. I hope they do come forward.
I hope so too. I can't imagine that this is just a one-off. That they caught them on the first time they ever tried to get with a young boy, right? So you got to think there's other people out there as victims. They're going to dig. They're going to dig, and I think they need to. And this is just the beginning of the story. They've got the tip of the iceberg.
I'm glad that an attraction to children is not my burden to carry. And I have no sympathy for people who, we are not animals. We're not animals.
Yeah.
And so we have the ability to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And people who choose not to, I have no sympathy for. Our culture has embraced whatever you feel like it, you got to do it. Follow your heart no matter what. Well, your heart is a liar.
Yeah. Your
heart is a liar. Do the right thing. That's the important thing. And if you look at John McCain's life, he always did the right thing. You don't think that maybe he wanted to leave the Hanoi Hilton when they wanted to send him home?
Yeah.
But he chose to stay because it was the right thing to do, knowing he would be tortured. So if he can do that, you can certainly refrain from ever even considering diddling a child.
Yep. I'm looking at the rest of this article here, and one of the things they talk about here is the bail these guys got, which of course makes me think about the story we did yesterday about the state of California and getting rid of the bail system. And one of these guys is being held, Quinn, is being held on $600,000 of bail, and Pedregon and Alcubiasi separately booked into West Valley. Pedregon has $250,000 bail, while Alcubiasi, who has pleaded not guilty, has $350,000. I wonder why the difference in the bail and how they would be treated differently under this new system. And I know that they would probably be classified as high risk, so maybe they wouldn't even be offered bail. At least you would hope they wouldn't be offered bail, or how the system's going to look at this in the future. That's what's scary about getting rid of the bail.
Yeah, well, I think that, I would imagine, I don't know, I would imagine that the people with the higher bail maybe have a prior somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's a prior related to the sexual abuse of minors or something else.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they would say that a second-time offender or third-time offender might be of greater risk of flight. Also, some of those, the names aren't your typical Anglo names, so maybe they're not U.S. citizens. Maybe they're a flight risk because they think they're going to go back to wherever they came from.
Armijo's, the guy with the film classes and all that, his bail's $275,000.
Huh.
So it's interesting. It's kind of a wide range here of what the bail is. But yeah, I don't want any of these guys out of jail, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't either. It's,
Is that horrible?
No, well, you know me, I'm pro death penalty, so no, wanting to keep them in jail is not horrible. And I'm a little speechless just because, this keeps happening. We see these sex abuse scandals in the Catholic Church, and it looks like that the Pope knew about some of these things, and not only sexual abuse of children, but sexual abuse of seminary students who wanted to become priests, and here comes this more powerful man in the church, abusing him.
Yeah.
And that's not okay. Now, if it was consensual, then that's a church matter. That's not a matter for me to even think about. But if it's not, if it's a person in authority taking advantage of an adult who's not in authority, that's sexual assault.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I'm at a loss. It's so disgusting.
So real quick before the break, I want to talk about, did you see the video of the woman who was going from house to house to house in Texas, ringing the doorbell, and it looked like she had handcuffs. One of her wrists had a handcuff on it, and the other side was just kind of dangling, and she was partially dressed, lightly dressed, in the middle of the night, ringing on doorbells, and somebody's porch camera caught her, and she is indeed a domestic violence victim. They figured out who she was, or who she is. Police aren't releasing a name, but they've identified her. She was captured ringing the doorbell of a Montgomery County, Texas home in the middle of the night, and apparently she had done it at several neighbors. This one was just the only one that had a camera. She was wearing only a shirt and what appears to be wrist restraints. It turns out she was not a missing person, but a 32-year-old domestic violence victim who lived in the same Sunrise Ranch subdivision. Police found their way to her via the suicide of her 49-year-old boyfriend, who police haven't named. They performed a welfare check on him on Wednesday morning and found him dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So he probably figured that at some point somebody was going to identify her, and that would lead back to him.
Yeah.
She's safe and is with family at the moment. Fox News reports that Spencer says a suicide note found at the scene enabled police to identify the woman. We believe this was a family domestic violence issue, and that is why she was seen wearing hand restraints. She is from the Dallas area and not connected to any of the missing cases. Neighbors tell the Houston Chronicle the couple hadn't lived in the home very long, and they weren't social, as domestic violence victims generally are kept away from other people.
Yeah.
I've never seen them, and I live next door, said one woman. So, yeah, they figured out who she was. I mean, I'm sad that the guy committed suicide, but I'm glad she's safe.
Exactly. And how freaked out would you be if you saw someone like that on your video that had, you got to think that she's like someone who's trying to get away from some bad guys.
Yeah. Well,
right?
yeah. I mean, obviously she's got a handcuff on her. I would freak out.
Yeah.
And clearly the people who had the video did, and they did the right thing by sending that video into the police.
Yeah.
So, scary. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
News on KCAA is brought to you by Ontario International Airport. What's one of the easiest things to do in Southern California? Fly nonstop from Ontario International Airport. Now you can fly direct to Guadalajara, Taipei, and Orlando, and soon to New York. The SoCal So Easy way. Ontario International Airport. SoCal So Easy.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. Arizona says a final goodbye today to the late Senator John McCain with a memorial service. His eulogy will be delivered by an old friend.
Former colleague, the former Vice President Joe Biden, really demonstrating what was an uncommon bipartisan bond.
NBC's Peter Alexander reports as many as 15,000 people filed past McCain's flag-draped casket yesterday, paying their respects. Child abuse charges are being tossed out in the New Mexico Desert Compound case. The charges were dismissed yesterday by 2 state judges because of procedural delays. It's the latest setback for the state prosecutors who missed a deadline to present evidence of a plot by people at the compound to attack schools and other institutions. The group's alleged leader and his wife are still facing charges in the death of a 3-year-old boy whose body was found at the compound. And Australia won't let whistleblower Chelsea Manning into the country for a speaking tour. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's time for traffic on KCAA. I'm Erin Brinker. In Moreno Valley on the 60 westbound before Day Street, an accident has the right lane blocked. Stop-and-go traffic is backed up from Paris Boulevard. In Fontana on the 210 eastbound at Citrus, a wreck is on the right shoulder. Very little slowing is being reported, which is good news. In Beaumont on the 60 eastbound at Jackrabbit Trail, a traffic sign is in the left lane. You definitely want to watch out for that. And in Corona, the 2-vehicle crash now along the right shoulder on the 91 westbound at Auto Center Drive. Slow traffic is backed up from Main Street. Overall, the 91 is slow from La Sierra and stays busy toward Green River Road. This has been your traffic report on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Rod Tanner. For this morning, we expect today to be sunny, warm, and breezy. Our high 95 with winds to 20 miles an hour. Overnight, it'll be clear, low 66. It'll be sunny Friday. Our high 97 as winds gust to 20 miles an hour. Friday night looks to be clear with a low 67. We'll kick off the Labor Day weekend Saturday with sunny skies at a high of 97. It'll be sunny Sunday with a high of 95. I'm Rod Tanner, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center with the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California. KCAA, 102.3 FM Riverside, 106.5 FM Redlands, and the Legacy, 1050 AM Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is serving up some really cool ice cream at La Micho Acana. Then get your chocolates and other delights from C's Candies. Moms and future moms who visit the mall can cool off and relax while they get treated like royalty at Shiny Nails or Francis Nails and then pampered at Texture Hair. The Tri-City Center is filled with retailers who care about you. Shop at the Tri-City Center in Redlands and see why they call it the Mall with a Heart.
Life insurance is one of those subjects that many people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. That's why State Farm Agent Joe Amlani in Redlands focuses on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call State Farm Agent Joe Amlani in Redlands at 909-894-4619 and put the life back into life insurance.
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California. We are KCAA.
It's too hard to sleep. I got the sheets on the floor, nothing on me. And I can't take it no more, it's 100 degrees. I got 1 foot out the door, where are my keys? 'Cause I gotta leave, yeah. In the back of the cab, I took the drive ahead of time. Get me the fast. I got your body on my mind. I want it bad. Ooh, just
Well, Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Listen to a little Jason Derulo. All right. So speaking of schools that have had, or districts that have had problems, the Beaumont High School is trying, or Beaumont School District, but specifically Beaumont High School, they're trying to recover from a year of scandal.
So I think I was like marginally aware of some of these, but to read this article when they line up each thing side by side, like you can see one after the other that happened, I'm like, oh my God, this school went through hell.
Yeah, they did.
They really did. So students at Beaumont High School began classes this month looking ahead to another school year, even as administrators and other officials try to put last year's scandals behind them. Last year, 2 teachers were charged with having sexual relations with students. The head football coach resigned after being videotaped punching a student in the stomach, and a lawsuit accused the principal's son, while dressed as the school's Cougar mascot, of injuring a female student during a Powder Puff football game. This year, Beaumont High has a new principal after Christina Pierce left for a district-level job in Fontana before the previous school year was complete, and every district employee has received extra training on appropriate staff-student interactions. We are focused on the future, Sean Mitchell, Beaumont Unified.
I'm going to stop you right there. New teachers, just so that we're clear, having sex with a student is not an appropriate staff-student interaction.
You think, Aaron?
I just, apparently that's not clear for some people.
There needs to be some training on this. You know, maybe we need Nancy Reagan to come in and tell them just say no.
Again, we're not animals. We have the ability to control ourselves.
Right? And the thing about this, too, I think this has just been a PR nightmare for the district, and they've mishandled it. As you read this article, they've mishandled it on so many levels. They basically stuck their head in their sand and tried not to talk about it. Like, let's just ignore it and hope it goes away.
Yeah.
And so the superintendent had numerous opportunities where he was invited to meet with the press and sort of put all this stuff behind him and sort of do the quick mea culpa and then talk about how they're going to take steps to fix this stuff. He botched it every time. Canceling the first meeting. When he gets to meet with them the second time, he won't let them record it because he's, I don't know, he just seems like he's afraid of this interaction, and so it just becomes more of a story.
Okay, for somebody who works in media, but the two of us work in media, and Tobin is also a teacher, there are PR firms that specialize in crisis communications. I understand you're going to have to pay for it. I understand that it's expensive, but oh my goodness, if you find yourself in this situation, hire one of those firms.
Yes.
Seriously, it'll make a huge difference on how you continue to be perceived. You want to be in the doghouse? You'll give you an example, and we love Rialto School District. Tobin works at Rialto, has been there for the better part of 20 years.
Yeah.
But when they were having scandal after scandal after scandal, they didn't hire somebody, and there were so many things coming out that the Sun newspaper had its own permanent link, Rialto Unified School District.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. Don't put yourself in that position, because your average PR person doesn't do that kind of work.
Yeah.
You have to hire somebody who really knows how to handle crises.
When I was on the Colton School Board back in the early 2000s, we had a situation in Colton. We had kids walking out of classrooms, setting trash cans on fire because they were upset at the principal who was there at that time.
Who was a colossal jerk.
He was a disaster, right? And so the consequence of that was that it made national news media. Like, there were TV trucks parked in front of the campus for days. And, when we had the big high-stakes, high-drama school board meeting after all the stuff had happened, all the media was there to film this and put it on the evening news, and our superintendent went out and hired a company, and we game planned how to handle this. And I won't say we did it perfect, but we did a pretty good job because by the end of the week, things were calmed down.
Right, and it wasn't in the news anymore.
It wasn't
the news
in the news
cycle had
anymore.
moved on.
Yes,
and with the 24-hour news cycle that we've now had for 20 years, and even really a little longer, it means that if they've got time to fill, they'll pick it up from wherever. And so, you want to make sure that you are in that news cycle. First of all, don't be in there at all if you don't have to be for bad news. And then if you are there, be there as just in and out. You want to minimize the impact, because they'll quickly be on to something else and people will forget.
Yes. Now, at Beaumont High School, the issue was the 2 teachers, both of them female teachers, that had relationships with students. Okay, that's bad enough. But the one that really grabbed me was this football coach. This guy, Will Martin, was videotaped hitting a kid in the stomach, and apparently there was some confrontation in the classroom. The students standing at the whiteboard. Students are laughing. Martin is standing in front of the student who appeared to be uncomfortable but was also laughing. And then suddenly he delivers this jab, and the kid doubles over, right? And so so this is bad, right? It's on because it's caught on videotape. But what's worse is then afterwards you find out that this guy had been fired previously from Reno Valley Unified because he had forged legal documents, basically double dipping on his time cards. So he was filling out time cards for two different things, getting paid for doing them at the same time.
Oh my goodness!
And
how does that slip through the cracks?
Exactly. And he had been given like 3 years of what do you call it?
Probation.
Probation, and but apparently all of this stuff got, they missed it when they hired him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, and then this is one of the questions, of course, that the media wanted to answer. What are you doing to sort of tighten up your rules so that doesn't happen again? And they couldn't give answers. They avoided the media. I mean, that's the kind of easy stuff that, you say, okay, well, we're going to, do some other kind of background checks.
So, I understand that these districts are getting special training, and this has happened in so many local districts.
Yep.
We've talked about the Catholic Church, but public schools are fighting this over and over and over and over
Yep.
again, and it begs the question. Students know when something's going on between
Yep.
a teacher and a student. They, I don't know, they pick up a vibe, or the kids talk, or whatever. Is it that teachers are reticent to rat on each other? Are people thinking, well, God, I don't want to ruin their career. I'm not sure that something's actually happening, and blah blah blah. How does this happen?
So honestly, I'm not sure because I've not experienced it on my school site where I've had to see how something like that would develop. Teachers are pretty isolated, right? I mean, most of the time you're just in your classroom doing your own thing, and at my school we talk about it pretty much about this idea that you're never alone in your classroom with a kid, right? I mean, that's like rule number one: never be alone with a kid in your classroom. So even if I have a kid that's going to stay after school for detention or whatever, if it's a single kid, the kid's sitting in the room, and I'm standing in the doorway with the door wide open.
So that the camera can see you.
The camera in the hallway can catch me, and I'm not going to be alone in the room with that kid. You just don't do it.
Yep.
Yep.
But we all know those teachers who have particularly close relations, and I know you have close. You get along really well with your students. You've been invited to weddings and graduations and things. But we all know those teachers who seem a little too chummy. And sometimes they're just chummy kinds of people. They're just that warm kind of person, and other times they're concealing something.
Exactly. And I think you're right, though. The kids would know, and you kind of have to listen to their chatter a little bit, and that's the clue. And if you feel it, you hear it and you feel it, you got to call CPS. Let them do the investigation. It's out of your hands.
Right, and then the teacher will be put on leave while they investigate, and if there's something there, they'll find it. If there's not, they won't. But do you know anybody who's ever been falsely accused and then, well, not false, I know you know people that have been falsely accused, but then it goes the next step where they are wrongfully fired or anything like that?
We almost had a situation like that last year at one of our schools, and it turned out that this was a student that had made the same claim against another teacher earlier in their educational career. And the kid was actually caught online bragging about how they do this to teachers to get, if they don't like the teacher, they get mad. And so it was really shown that this kid was just doing this out of spite because they had an issue with this teacher. And once the documentation came in showing that they had done it before and that they were bragging about, basically lying about it on not Facebook, but one of like Snapchat or something, they'd sent it to a friend who showed it to their parent, and their parent brought it in. Thank God, right?
Thank God.
And
yeah,
so
because a parent will know that this man's or woman's life would have been ruined.
Yeah, well, and the teacher was being held on leave while they were investigating. And so once they had proof that this was bogus, they brought the teacher back, and that kid got moved to a different teacher's room. And
what? Just moved to a room? I mean, that wouldn't call for the expulsion of this child?
So there were some other consequences.
There would have to be.
There were some other consequences, but the main one was to get the kid away from that teacher.
But any teacher with that kid is going to be like, I don't want that kid in my class.
Yeah.
Well, and take away my livelihood.
Yeah. It was a female student and a male teacher, so they put the female student in with a female teacher and dealt with it that way. But
wow.
It was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly, and everybody involved with that was kind of shaken. I mean, because you never know how it's going to work out, and the fact that they finally got the evidence and this guy was able to come back. I mean, that was,
Wow.
right?
So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
Every day is a great day at KCAA Radio. August 30th is National Toasted Marshmallow Day. Now be sure to stock up on one of America's favorite fire-roasted treats. Get your friends together, gather up some firewood, a few log sticks, and a bag of marshmallows, and you have the makings of a great night ahead of you. Toasted marshmallows are a special part of summer evenings around a bonfire. One of the popular ways to enjoy a delicious, warm, gooey toasted marshmallow is with chocolate and graham crackers in a s'more. Upon personal preference, marshmallows are heated to various degrees from gently toasted to a charred outer layer. The charred outer layer is achieved by igniting the marshmallow. Marshmallows now come in a variety of flavors as well as sizes for maximum toasting opportunities. For KCAA NBC Radio, I'm Andrew Caravella, and this has been The More You Know.
This segment is sponsored by Tammy Sutherland of Coldwell Banker Kivett Teeters Realty, where she makes it her business to put happy people in happy homes. It's Tammy Sutherland's passion to list your house and put you in just the right house that you could call home.
She made so much extra effort to sell our house and make sure that we understood every step of the way. Tammy always had our best interests at heart.
I didn't think we'd ever find a house we loved, but with Tammy's help, we did. Now I get to mow the lawn every weekend. But then again, that's why we had kids. Hey, Tyler!
Tammy did way more than we ever expected in a real estate agent. Without Tammy, we would still be renting.
So if you want your perfect house, contact Tammy Sutherland at Coldwell Banker Kivett Teeters Realty in Yucaipa, across from Yucaipa High School. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, it's homesbytammy.net or on Facebook at facebook.com/Realtor Tammy Sutherland at 909-556-2094 for Realtor Tammy Sutherland, and we thank her for her support.
Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you always tired and worn out? Is it affecting your work and personal life? Well, South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study of your sleep patterns. With their trained specialists, they will diagnose your sleep habits and will give you a prognosis for getting a great relaxing night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including Fontana, and will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. To find out more, give them a call at 844-SAD-5050. That's 844-SAD-5050. South Pacific Sleep Lab. Start resting easy and sleeping sound today.
Hi, everybody. Ray Lucia here with some important information about debt, your debt. Whether you have a first or second mortgage, you're looking to buy or refi a home or rental property, or just need to consolidate your credit cards to lower your payments and save some serious interest, you need to do some loan financial planning with Steve Alladort, my mortgage man, at loanfinancialplanner.com. Now, Steve's not your garden variety mortgage broker. He actually spends time evaluating how you can use the current super competitive interest rates to pay off your mortgage early, purchase a rental property, improve your cash flow, upgrade to your dream home, or even help your kids or grandkids get into a house. That's what loan financial planning is all about. Steve's been helping me and my listeners for over 2 decades, and I can tell you he is the best finance guy in the business. Go to loanfinancialplanner.com. That's loanfinancialplanner.com.
Or call Steve Alladort at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070.
So, you didn't like that opinion. Okay, give us another 15 minutes. This is the station that leaves no listener behind, KCAA.
I came to dance, 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 dance. I hit the floor cause that's my plans, 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 plans. I'm wearing all my favorite brands, 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 brands. Give me some space for both my hands, 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 hands. You.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. So glad to have you with us this morning. I want to remind everybody all the ways they can listen to KCAA in addition to those 3 stations on the FM and AM dial that I just mentioned. You can also listen to us and watch Tobin. He's super exciting on at KCAAradio.com, and you can find our podcast there as well at KCAAradio.com or at on iHeart. That's what I'm trying to remember. iHeart. If you search for On the Brink KCAA in the shows on iHeart, you will find our podcast. And you can follow us on social media. I am Erin Hunt Brinker on Facebook. Tobin is Tobin Brinker on Facebook. And that is the best way to interact with us. We love when you jump in and join our conversation, but not if you're a jerk. If you're going to be a troll, we're going to kick you off.
I'm thinking about becoming a hand talker, Erin, just to spice up the show, so that as I'm sitting here in front of the camera, I'll be one of those people who like waves their arms in very dramatic fashion.
You should.
And you know, find my inner Italian. Right?
Okay, so we have to tell a funny story about the inner Italian. It's not really us being Italian, but Tobin and I used to be exchange students, and we've hosted a bunch of kids, but we were also family liaisons, so between the exchange organization and the family, and really helped families get settled with their students and help them work through issues throughout the year, because, you know, it's a big adjustment for everybody.
Yes.
And so there was one student who came to us, well, we first heard about her, was, I got to move from my family now. This is it's horrible. She was from Italy. Horrible. It was terrible. And so we're like, okay, hold on a second. You can't just up and move. Let's talk to the family, see what's going on. And there were a host of communication issues. Wonderful family. I mean, really great people.
Yes.
And one of the issues was the way they communicated with each other. And Tobin was the one who was so astute and picked it up. So Tobin, you tell the story.
Yeah, so she's getting very emotional as she's talking with her family about some of the issues that she's having. And she's this typical sort of Italian girl, really dramatic with her hands and with her voice. And she's literally putting her finger right in her face of her host mom as she's talking to her, right? And I reached up and I put my hand on her hand and pulled it back. And I said, look, you can't do that. That's very aggressive. And the message, you know, they're going to feel attacked when you do that. You can't.
And the family was very subdued.
Yes, very reserved.
Very reserved, and very successful family, but very just completely different communication styles.
Yes.
And I remember this student being very, very upset when she first called us, and she said, they didn't wish me Merry Christmas. They were very upset. They didn't wish me Merry Christmas. And through talking to her, we learned that she had told them that she was an atheist. Okay, that maybe that wasn't important to them. Then we go to their house, and the first thing we noticed when we walk in the front door was the menorah on the mantle.
Yes, so they're Jewish.
They're Jewish, and you told them that you were atheist, and why would they wish you Merry Christmas?
And where did they take her for Christmas?
Yeah, I forgot about that. They took her to Hawaii.
Yeah, so she's on a trip with the family in Hawaii for Christmas. And she's all upset afterwards because they didn't wish her a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, give me a break.
And I'm like,
can I be your host? Can I stay at their house?
Perspective here a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. But she was all of them were lovely people.
They're just awesome people.
But they were just not communicating well. And one of the challenges was the way this girl spoke, because she was so effusive, demonstrative, and
the family wasn't.
Yeah, and often it came across as very sort of aggressive and. And she wasn't trying to be mean or anything, just that's how she spoke.
Because for her, that was normal.
Yeah.
What we learned with the exchange students that we worked with over the years, although it's been a number of years since we did this, is that there is no normal. There's no normal.
Everyone sort of creates their own version of normal as they get to know each other. What works for you?
Yes. Well, and every culture has their idea of normal.
Yeah.
And from your household habits, just your, the expectations about what your day would look like, and, what you're supposed to be doing, and all these things, even how your relationship with time.
Yes. So I was an exchange student to Australia, and my host family, I didn't stay with them for the whole year. At a certain point, they asked me to find a new family, or asked the organization to find me a new family. And part of it was because of a cultural family thing that I did. I grew up in a family where we talk politics, and we get kind of emotional about it, and we argue and debate, and my host family did not do that. And I realize now, looking back, that I created my own problems there, because I kept having these arguments and debates thinking that was normal and okay, and they were feeling, my host mom particularly was feeling like I was attacking her, and I truly regret it because I love that family. They were wonderful to me. But, I was creating stress and strain because I kept wanting to talk politics.
And that's not something you do in polite company, apparently.
No. Now I just go on radio and do it. That's how I get my fix.
Well, and the good news is that you're still very much in touch with that family.
I am, and
they made you a little video for your birthday, which was super cool.
Right? They're awesome, and I still think of them as my family, Mom and Dad. The Weatherlys.
Yep, awesome people. All right, so Tobin, you picked the last one.
So I wanted to talk about New Mexico. They have, at the last minute, right before they have to finalize their ballots for the election, their Secretary of State has decided to add onto the ballot the ability to just check a single box to vote for a party, straight party voting. Now, apparently they used to have this, and they got rid of it, and now she's just unilaterally decided to put it back in.
Can she do that?
Well, apparently she's saying that she can, but she's a Democrat, and the Republicans are now suing. And all of this seems to me to be focused on Gary Johnson, who's a libertarian. He's not a Democrat or a Republican, but he's polling very high. He's just recently jumped into the Senate race, and this is designed, I think, to help save a Senate seat, that they can get enough, Democrats in New Mexico to just click that box and not vote for Gary Johnson. Right? And so if they actually go down the ballot and they see his name, there's a good chance that a lot of folks would vote for him because he's a former governor of the state.
Well, and he's got good name recognition.
Great name recognition. And so by putting that box at the top of the ticket, a lot of folks will just, oh, that's easy, I'm done. Right? And so this is, they think, designed to thwart him. And so a lot of people are kind of upset about it. Very few states still do this. Only 6 states allow for people to just tick a box and vote for the whole party. And over the last 50 years, most states have been getting rid of that. The states that still have the straight ticket are Alabama, Indiana, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Utah.
Interesting. Well, Utah, everybody votes Republican.
Yeah. Well, and interesting, most of those states that we mentioned are what I would call Republican states, right? Pennsylvania was the only one that I would say that kind of was...
That one's actually really surprising because Pennsylvania is such a densely populated state.
Yeah.
And with a lot of urban center. I mean, there's some real urban areas, in Philadelphia and in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Where you wouldn't think that would happen there.
So when Gary Johnson was governor of the state of New Mexico, he actually got them to pass a law getting rid of the state party voting. But the Secretary of State is saying that under the way the rules are written, she gets to determine the form of the ballot. And so this is all that is that she's just setting the form of the ballot to allow people to do that. But if there's a law that was passed that said they're not going to do straight party ticket voting anymore, or they changed a law that used to say they would allow it to now no longer have that language, I think that the lawsuit might have some merit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But New Mexico is definitely going to be an interesting state to watch in November.
So we are at the end of our show for today. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Have a great day, everybody.